Coffee talk. I left Social Security for a job that lied about the salary. Here's what happened. Hello, everybody. I'm Solar with Seth, and this is the most personal episode I've done in this series. Because today I'm not just talking about workplace rights in general, I'm talking about a decision that I made, a big one, I made based on the information that turned out to not be true. And I want to share it because I know I'm not the only one who has been in this situation. And if you're on disability benefits right now and you're considering going back to work, you especially need to hear this. So let's talk about it. So here's where I was. I'm a person with disabilities. I've been on Social Security. I decided I was ready to go back into the workplace full time. I found an opportunity. Now, if you've ever been on Social Security disability and tried to go back to work, you know that this is not a simple decision. There is a long process. There is a 9-month trial period where SSA evaluates whether or not you can sustain the employment. And there are rules about how much you can earn. There are implications for your health care. It's a leap of faith with a lot of moving pieces. Because you lose your Medicare, you lose your insurance, you got to go to another insurance. There's so many moving pieces. $85,000 a year. I saw a job posting, and web developer, my field, my expertise, 30 years of experience, WordPress developer, programming, PHP. What's the salary? 85. Sounds great. That was the number that made the math work. That was the number that made leaving benefits make sense. That was the number I built my whole plan around. They hired me at $50,000. Now, 50 is what you pay somebody who just left college, not somebody with 30 years of experience. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Why would you take that if it wasn't what was advertised? And I want to answer honestly because I think a lot of people have been in this exact same spot and felt ashamed about it, and I don't think we should. You take it because you need it. You take it because you've already made decisions based on the number you thought you were going to get. You take it because walking away means going back to benefits and starting all over. Those processes are long and exhausting and uncertain. You take it because you believe things will get better. You believe you prove yourself, the company will make it right, you'll get a raise, it would all even out. Now, my last raise was the cost of living. My performance review was through the roof, and while you are believing all of that, the 9-month trial period is running. The clock Social Security gave you to prove you can sustain employment is ticking. And at the end of that, if things don't work out the way you hoped, you're not just unemployed, you potentially have an overpayment from the SSA waiting for you because you came off benefits based off of income projections that never materialized the way you planned. This is not a personal failure. This is real-world consequences of wage misrepresentation, and I think it needs to be said out loud. Here's what makes this even harder to sit with. I found out that other developers at this company doing comparable work were making $85,000 to $125,000 a year. And I had more experience than some of them. 30 years in this field, and I was an absolute bottom of the pay scale, paid less than the job was advertised for, paid significantly less than my peers, and I'm a person with documented disability FML paperwork on file from day one. And when you look at that all together, the advertised salary versus the actual salary, the peer compensation gap, the disability status, that is not bad luck. That has a name. It's called wage discrimination, and it is illegal. If you're on Social Security benefits and consider going back to work, please hear me out. Talk to a work incentives counselor before you take any decision. SSA has free resources specifically designed to help people navigate this transition. They can walk you through the trial work period, the extended period of eligibility, what happens. Let me stop the script, first of all. People don't realize that when you're on disability, especially for communicative and mental issues that you don't have to disclose, but when you are in that situation, when you are me in that situation, not the counselor, not the judge, not the lawyer, when you are the person and you have to negotiate with the HR person your salary and they tell you, oh, we advertised it at 85, but you're not going to get that. You're going to get 50. People don't realize that it is hard for you to negotiate that. If I had an attorney maybe in there negotiating with the HR, but you advertised it at 85. Who are you giving the 85? I have 30 years of experience. If anybody should get the 85, it should be me. Know that the salary gap between posting and offer may not be legal, especially if you are a person with disabilities and comparable employees without disabilities are being paid significantly more. That is something the EEOC can investigate. This is free to file. You don't need a lawyer to start the process. If you end up with an SSA overpayment as a result of the job that misrepresents its salary, report the full situation to your benefit counselors. There are waiver and appeal processes available. That's bullshit, first of all. I'd love to talk to you about the appeals and waiver process. I filled it out 3 times. I was homeless. I got evicted. I lost my job. Here's what I want people to understand about wage discrimination and disability. When you overpay a person with disability, you're not just overpaying them for the labor, you're potentially trapping them because the math of leaving benefits only works at certain income levels. If you advertise a salary that would make the math work and you hire someone based on that number and then you pay them significantly less, you have not just cheated them out of wages, you have potentially cost them from their health care, their safety net, their ability to go back to benefits if things fall apart. You have made them more vulnerable, not less. This is worth being angry about, and it is worth being on the record about. This is the last episode of this series. And what I want to say, something to close it out, I started this series because I wanted to be heard. Not in a courtroom, not in a lawsuit, just heard. I don't need to sue you. Life is too short for a bunch of lawsuits. I wish people would just do the right thing. I wanted to know, I wanted what happened to me to mean something beyond just my own situation. And even if one person watches this video and realizes that they have options that they didn't know about, if one person filed an EEOC complaint they wouldn't have filed otherwise, if one person goes back to work on a trial period, made safer and more informed decisions because of something that I said, it was worth it. You deserve to be paid what you're promised. You deserve to be work without harassed. You deserve an HR department that actually protects you. You deserve to have your disability respected, not weaponized against you. I'm Sola Buseth. I'm not an attorney, not a lawyer. Always get professional advice for your specific situation, but I've been through it and I'll keep talking about it as long as it helps somebody. Like, follow, share every episode in this series with someone who needs it, and thank you for watching. We'll talk soon.